Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, that's good. So we're going to start a new drawing, and essentially we're going to reproduce this floor plan as a starting point. So make sure you've got a printout and you can scale off the drawing to start with, because that's what I'm going to be doing. And, okay, so I've got AutoCAD open, of course, and I'm going to start a new drawing, but I'm going to make sure that AutoCAD ISO is the template that's selected in that list. You can always check that. And that way we know it's set up for metric. Now, my recording program seems to be looking in the wrong spot. It's very frustrating, this thing sometimes, but I think it's, go away, shove over there. There we are, that's it. So, so I've got my new blank file, and now I just want to get my scale ruler out, and I'm measuring, where's 1 to 100? I'm blind, here we are. 1 to 1, look, this terrible scale ruler. Whose is this? This is rubbish. This is an engineer's one. Okay, so if it's got 1 to 75, 1 to 25, 1 to 125, they're engineer scales. It's got 1 to 1, which is, you know, you can use that for 1 to 100, but it's still not great. So anyhow, with this I can measure from one side of the building to the other, and it is 8.6 metres that way, and then, well, I'll just start with that. That's all I need to know for now. So 1 to 100. Yeah, to be. Yeah. Okay, so I've measured. So I've measured from this edge to this edge, and I've come out with that measurement 8.6 metres. So then I can start. So a good way to start is to just draw a line and maybe zoom a little bit so that you can see where the crosshairs are, where the, not the crosshairs, the origin, so the XY origin. And you don't need to start there exactly, just close to it. Makes it easier. So anywhere near there, I'm going to click a start point, and then move my cursor up, but also I want it to snap to a right angle. So I'm going to turn ortho on down here and locks it to a right angle, and then make sure it's pointing to 90 degrees, and then I'll type that measurement that I know, 8600, enter, and then you can see I can zoom, but only so far. And that's normal in AutoCAD or any CAD program when you first start it, because things can be either really big or really small. So this is much bigger than, what I've drawn is much bigger than my view. So the trick there to get it to show everything is to just temporarily finish the line by pressing enter, and then either zoom out, or you can double click with the wheel, and that just does a fit to page essentially. And that way I can now see the whole line. Okay, so that gives me a measuring stick. I know that's 8.6 long. And then I'm going to draw another line from the end, either end or the top or the bottom, doesn't matter. So I can draw from there and come across, and I don't really even need to know how long this wall is just yet. We'll come back to work out that length in a minute. So I'm just drawing across a fairly arbitrary distance. So there it's, what, roughly 20 metres, 20,000 you can see there. That's fine. And then I'll do another one from the bottom. Roughly the same length, but don't be too worried about being too precise there, because we're going to change it. Okay, so I've got these two lines, top and bottom. I don't really even need the first one anymore. I'll probably delete that before long, but those two are going to be the two outside edges at the top and the bottom of the floor plan, this one and this one. So then we can have a look at the wall thickness. So do you have an idea how thick a wall like this would be in a building like this? Well, what sort of wall do you think it'd be?
Double brick.
Exactly, double brick. Yep. So what's the thickness of a double brick wall normally? Well, how thick's a brick? Single brick.
76-ish.
Yeah, it's 76 high, but then across 110.
110.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
So that's a good one to remember. So a standard brick, is 110 by 230 by 76. So that's usually the size in Australia. Australia is one of the first countries to standardise brick sizes, because all the European ones are, millions of different sizes. If you know about Flemish bricks and English bricks, are all crazy different sizes. So Australia, back in the 19th century, were ahead of the times in some ways, and they did standardise a lot of building sizes all the way back then. So that's a good thing to remember. So that standard brick size you can use, or you can assume, with most buildings.
Yeah.
And so again, if you remember 110 for the width of a brick, and then cavities, if it's not specified, they're normally 50. So between the bricks, you've got a 50 mil gap. So that means 110 plus 50 plus 110 gives us 270. So that's a standard cavity brick wall. So if you remember that, 270 is a good one. So then, do you know how thick render would be normally? Yeah, you can eyeball it. Yeah, that's a good thing.
I don't know. Like 100 maybe?
Or 10, maybe?
10.
10, yeah. You're on the right track,
10,
though? Yeah,
10, sorry,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, a 10, yeah.
I don't know what I was,
Yeah,
I'm using
yeah.
it wrong. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. So,
So about 280 all up.
yeah, well, that's if it's rendered on one side,
Yeah.
but then it probably will be rendered both sides.
Oh, on the other wall.
Yep, yep. So that gives us 290, and actually render is often about 13 mil, or even sometimes a little bit thicker. So 13 mil is the standard thickness that you specify, but we can assume here maybe it's 15. Right, so that gives us 15 either side, which is 30. So 270 plus 30 gives us 300. So for existing walls like this, that are
When you say on the other side of the wall, do you make an interior wall?
on the outside and on the other shop, on the side of the other shop that's next to this one. So these walls are common walls between two shops. Right, so technically the boundary, if you look at it,
So is this then the boundary line that we're looking at, or is that the...
well, it depends. But here, let's see. Yeah, so they'd have another wall. So sometimes they will share a wall, but in this case, there's another wall. So there's the wall here, and then it goes outside. That's why we've got to put render both sides anyway. But then here you can see that's the boundary line, and the wall's inside it. So there must be another wall on the other side.
Okay.
That's right up against this. But sometimes they'll share the wall. It just depends. Pretty much, yeah, in this case, yeah. But we only need to draw two. The two skins of brick and then the cavity. And you don't even need to show the cavity. We just need to know the total thickness of that wall. So it's nice to make it into a round number as well. And so 300 is a good thickness for an existing wall like this. And that's what we'll do unless it gives us any other measurement here, and I don't think it does.
So I was going to say, can't we read it off this one?
Well, I didn't dimension it. So this is a presentation drawing, so I didn't put dimensions on. And that's quite typical. So you can always just put in rough measurements, and then later, if you want to take detailed measurements for construction, you can do that when you get to build it. But you're not doing construction drawings, you're just doing presentation drawings, so close enough is good enough. So I'm going to offset now. So your offset command, this one here, is offset. Or if you remember going to the modify menu, you can choose offset from there. But it's good to start using the ribbon. So this button here, offset, and then we type in the distance, 300, enter, choose one of the lines, and make sure it goes to the right side. So in other words, here I need to go below that line. So that's why I've left this line here so you can see. If I choose this line, then we need to choose above. That way we've made sure we're going to the right side, and so we should then be left with, what? It was 8.6, so we should be left with 8 metres exactly. So I'm going to use the measuring tape here, and then just double check that I've done it properly, so I can measure from this end point down to this one, and you can see there, if you can't read it, it does say 8,000. And this is why AutoCAD's a great program. And it's perfect, gives you perfect measurements, and that makes the design process much easier. If you know the size of things and you can easily change them, then you can use that as a base for drawing, and you're not double handling and going back and forth because sizes were a little bit out or anything like that. So, because we're not trying to get you to do detailed technical drawings, but it still helps with presentation drawings if things are accurate. So now I want to look at the length of the building. And again, this is where I'm not sure. You may have to change this, but for now, I think we can just draw the whole length. I think it doesn't hurt to have that amenities area. And if Todd says we need to take that off, then it's easy to do that anyway. But yeah, I think you can just say all the way to the end there. I'll just,
So we'll just continue that wall then to the back and then ignore that other garage and ready job?
yeah, that's right, exactly. Yeah. But I think I'll have a chat with Todd, and maybe I'll suggest to him that that can be a rear lane access way.
So maybe keep an entry somewhere?
Possibly, yeah. Okay, but I'm just going to continue that across. So what I'm going to do now is measure from this corner all the way to, why is it not panning? Okay, that's why. So from this corner all the way to this corner. And again, so I'm just using my scale ruler to do that. And what is it? So, that's not long enough. Great, okay. Okay, so it's 3,000 or 30 metres plus 5. Easy peasy. Okay, so 35 metres is the measurement I've taken from the bottom. And, okay, so back into AutoCAD. So just to make it easy, I'm going to draw a new line from here, straight up, still with ortho on. And then I'll offset again, 35,000, 35 metres. From that line, I'm just going to click to the right, and I'm zooming out so that you can see where it comes in. That line now is over there on the right. So that's giving me this corner. And then I need to work out where this corner is. And so again, I'll just measure that. It does, so I'm measuring the bottom corner first. Yeah. So I'm showing you here how you can work out all the angles by measuring in this way. So measuring at right angles, essentially, will do for everything. So there it is, 40.3, I'll say. Yeah, 40.3, that'll do. Okay, so, I'm going to draw another line from the bottom there down. Again, these are just like measuring sticks. I've just got an extra line there. Not worried about the length of it, just as long as it's straight and starts on the corner. And then I'll offset my distance, so 4,300 or 40.3 metres, but we're in millimetres, of course. And then I'll just again select my line and then click to the right. So now I've established this corner, and then I've got to do a little bit more of a detailed measurement. So I'll just zoom in so you can see it. Oops, no, that's not zoom, is it? Where's the zoom button gone? Here it is. Okay, so I'm just zooming right in so you can see this funny little corner, but that is how it's built. So I've got to measure now from here, across and then up. Right, just to work out that corner. That's the part that's maybe a bit more complicated than the rest. And so to set that out, okay, so it's 300 by 200, I think. 300 by 250.
I say 3.
Yeah, sure.
300, and then you're measuring through.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly. At right angles. That's right. Spot on. It is. Yeah. So here, if you're wondering, so I'll just make it clear. So from this corner, I've measured across, not to here, not to the street, but to where this point would come down. Right. So in other words, so we're measuring at a right angle. So So again, 300 across is the measurement I've taken, and then up 250. Right, so, okay, so now back to AutoCAD, and I'll set those things out. So, to make it clearer so I know what I'm looking at, I'm going to select this line at the bottom and just use the grip. If you haven't done this before, it's just these handles that come up, those blue squares. So I'm going to click on this one and then move it across and just snap it to that line. And that'll make it a lot easier when I do the next part. So now I'm going to draw another line and go from that point. So remember, I want to come across 300 and then up 250. So what do? I type 300, comma, 250. Enter. Does that make sense? Right, so that's how you can do angles without having to measure an angle. You measure the distance across and then the distance up.
And it just measures there.
That's right. That's it. So I'll do it again, just so it's clear. Okay, so again, drawing a line from that point, and I type in 300, comma, 250. Enter. Oops, sorry, now I typed 2 marks. I'll do it again. Again, drawing a line from there, 300, comma, 250. So it's an X and a Y coordinate. Right. So again, those simple little things make your life much easier when you're doing a lot of drawing like this.
And then you just snap it back to the other corner.
Exactly, exactly. So there, that's right. So now I can get this line at the top, bring it across, snap to there, now draw my line from that endpoint across to here. And if my drawing's accurate, it won't be perfect, but that should be close to a right angle. It's not exact, but again, we don't need to be too precise here. And that's it. So then to finish off the outer wall, I'm then going to offset 300 again. Right, so let's type in 300, select this line, click to the inside, and then do you know how to join, if I want to join this line to this one? These two. So do you remember fillet? So you've got fillet here, there's a button for it, or you can go to modify and choose fillet. So do you remember setting a radius? You can set a radius for fillet, or you can leave it at 0. And if you leave it at 0, then it'll just join those two lines together without a curve. And that's it. So I'll do fillet again and choose these two lines. No, sorry, I'll just put one more line in first, sorry. Okay, so I'll offset 300 again. Now I don't have to type 300 this time because that was the last measurement, so I still need to press enter to say I want to keep the 300, and then I can select this line and offset it inwards, and that's the one I've got to join to my other wall. Does that make sense? So now with fillet I can choose that line and then this one over here, and that's better. It only sticks out a little bit, but it is not, yeah, it's a little distance, so I've got to keep that. And so then to finally clean this up, now I can fill up these two lines. You might need to zoom right in to get it, but it'll work when you do. And there we are. So now, very last thing, I'll offset this line that I said I was going to delete, but now I'm actually going to keep it. So here, I'll select it, go to the inside, and then fill it again, and join all of these. And that's a really good way to start, because then we've got the outer walls of the building. You can leave these lines, they might be useful later. You can delete them if you want to, but it's not a bad idea to keep them, because I'll show you how you can turn them into grids or something later. And we'll get into layers before long. But can you see how that wall there, when you look at it in the final drawing, is cut?
Yeah, it's glass.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So there's a storefront there that's got all of the the glazing and the framing and everything. But remember that the brick wall is still there in that line above and below the glazing. So it's a good idea to draw it in first and then later you'll trim it back. But for now, that's a good starting point. So have a go at drawing the outline. Oops, why is it not minimising? Yeah, so if you can get the outline set up like that, you've at least got the overall size of the shop. And that can even be useful when you go to do your hand drawing, because you print it out and trace over it. It's worked out the size, and that's a lot easier than setting that out by hand. So I'll give you some time to try that, and then if you get it done, we can move on.